Hold on, I'm gonna mute it for a second to make sure. Muted,
Oh, there's a.
unmuted. There we go.
Mhm.
We are recording and there is no mute on tonight. Today.
Everyone, we are here for our February 5th, 2025 policy committee meeting. Members of the policy committee are present. Let me just give a quick recap of our board meeting that took place the other night. We were able to finalize amendments to policy 2210, which is the board reorganizational meeting. And those updates, as I mentioned in the board meeting, reflected updates to the model rules from the Committee on Open Government for broadcasting and recording meetings. And then we also were able to finalize some just minor amendments to agenda preparation and dissemination, which dealt with how to get items on.
Actually, I think if I could, I think the 2210 was actually the board reorg meeting, not the broadcast. The broadcast is still.
It is, yeah, but I thought the notes to the
It may have,
NISBA
so I
update.
may be out of turn.
Yeah, I think you're right. There is a whole separate, policy on that, which is on our list to get to today. Yeah, so we were able to finalize amendments to those two policies. Our plan for today is to work through potentially the rest of the school board governance and operations policies, the section 2000 policy manual. We're not going to touch everything, but there were some that had NISBA updates that we need to get to. And then there's two policies that were raised in our December meeting by community members. So we wanted to take a first look at those as well. And then if we have time, I hope we can get to policy 1740, if I've got that right, which is our policy is titled Textbook Policy, Including Non-Public Schools. There are some NISBA updates to this that are broader and deal with the district's responsibilities towards students attending non-public schools. And I'll also flag that a neighbor of mine asked us to revisit our policies on out-of-district students and their ability to participate in extracurricular activities. Frank and I talked about this because I wasn't sure whether we allowed it or not. Our policy has been no, that we do not allow it.
Mhm.
Feedback for the community member is asking us to reconsider that. So
I do think there's legislation on that as well. I'll have to check on that, like regulation. And I think one of the things to think about, I'm going to check real quick. But I think there's been discussion regarding that with regulations as well.
yeah, and I know there are issues with participation in extracurriculars for homeschooled students as well. So
Because they're technically not students within the school district. They're not registered. They're not here. They go to a private or parochial school where they have those opportunities to do so. So that is the component behind that. And I don't know that there are schools that do that, to be very honest with you. I would have to check policy.
yeah, I'm not sure. What I was told by my neighbor was that other districts, I think she mentioned Gilderland, do allow it. I don't know if that
I can check that out
is the
easy.
case or not.
That's easy to find out.
Yeah, I figured. So anyway, that one, if we have time, we can at least address the NISBA updates and then kind of do some more research on the policy aspects of this and whether as a district we want to expand access to extracurriculars.
What type of extracurriculars are you looking at? Are you thinking sports? Are you thinking?
My neighbor asked about ski club.
So that's like a community youth group, but it would open up
It would open it up to.
everything. If you
I
allow
don't
more,
know that you could just do it for ski, right?
right,
we
you,
could.
you would know, but you would, if you open it for one club, then why wouldn't it be this club
Right,
or with that one?
exactly,
It would,
exactly,
yeah.
and make it
What would be the other aspects of that? Yep,
Yeah.
no, totally get it.
And there's administrative aspects of that
Yep.
as well.
Thank you for expounding on that and sharing where it came from and what the thought processes are. I
Yep.
appreciate that.
So it's interesting because it was already on our list when this came up.
Do we have a policy number on it or no? 1740?
1740.
Thank you.
The NISBA title is Relation with Non-Public Schools.
Yep.
Ours is textbook policy, including non-public schools.
So we have a separate.
You would have to have a different policy because 1740 is, it's the textbook's expectation. I don't think it probably has anything else in it.
Let's
Yeah.
take a look.
It's
at
interesting.
NISBA's update.
Yeah. I'm going to go to another school district's, I'm not going to say the school district's policy manual as you guys start talking,
Okay,
just
yeah,
because I'm very interested to see if it's, and that school district uses NISBA as well. So it should be numbered very
Yeah.
similarly.
Great, okay, thank you, good. All right, so let's dig in. So 2111 is board member authority. This, as far as I recall, has not had any NISBA updates. Our 2111, if I recall, is not that old. Yeah, it was last revised May 2022. I did drop a copy of the policy that last night that we could use to edit if we want to. But I figure let's start with the draft document that's in the board member authority folder.
Yep. Real quick, just Gilderland does not, non-public school students are not permitted to participate in district activities or district facilities other than those open to the public or as permitted under district policy 1500 public use of school facilities.
Okay, so I guess it depends on how you set up your.
Right.
Well, whether it's like a,
Public's like,
Community.
like the adult recreation.
correct, right? Since we pay for the buses to go, I would consider that not an adult recreation, but
Right,
like
right.
if we didn't and we just allowed it and they rented and everything, that would be a different component. But yes, I do believe, again, I don't know specific because I know there was going to be a change in regulations a few years back. There is something specific about allowing that or not allowing it. I will find it. I'll ask council for it too.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2111, it's not that long, so we should walk through it. Thank you for putting some comments in. Okay, so members of the Board of Education have real authority for the conduct of district schools only when acting as a body in a properly convened session. No member of the board as an individual may exercise in any way authority of the board. Such authority can be exercised. Or do you have it up or you
I'm
want-
trying very hard
I
right
can
now.
read it along with me.
Here, I'll get it up here too for you, Barbara. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I'm.
Yeah, no, it's not just follow along. No member of the board by virtue of their office or committee appointment shall exercise administrative responsibility with respect to the schools or personally command the services of any employee. New paragraph, members of the board are free to speak to individuals on these issues. That you have a comment that this is vague.
It was earlier this morning that I did it, but I tried to look back and see what it's referring to.
Yeah. Members of the board are free to speak to individuals.
I think its intent is school business.
Or
District
matters.
matters.
Fine with that. I mean, I think if we change it to that, it's clear that like, we can talk to people about what happened in board meetings, but we need to be, the next sentence addresses executive session, which I think we all understand, but that would,
Like maybe we say free to speak to individuals on district matters discussed in public.
school district or district? What do we usually use? I think we just use district. District holding.
I think it's gonna read a little awkward when it follows by outside, so I'm thinking maybe free to speak to individuals outside of board meetings.
Yeah.
On district matters, but
Yeah.
such.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Information from executive sessions must be confidential at all times unless a release is appropriately authorized. The board will not be bound in any way by any individual member's statement or action unless the board, through an adopted policy or by a majority vote of board membership, has delegated this authority to the individual member. I think that's all good for me, except that edit. New paragraph, the board shall take no position in support of or in opposition to a candidate for election to the board. If any individual board member feels obliged to take a public position concerning a candidate, it shall be their duty to stress that they take their position as a private citizen and not as a member of the board. So this particular section, I just want to raise an issue and see how others feel. I believe we have had current board members engage in what I would call campaign activities with candidates for the board. Like, would we consider that a position in support of or in opposition to a candidate for election to the board? I would.
What more, can you give me an example of what form that makes?
Well,
Like knocking on doors.
Oh.
okay.
Like traveling a neighborhood,
Oh.
knocking on doors, saying, "Hi, I'm Rachel." I'm using Rachel as an example.
Sure.
She's the board president. You know, I'm Rachel Gilker. I'm on the school board. I'm, this is blank, or right, or just by their presence. Even if they didn't say anything, being a tacit endorsement of the candidate.
If it's a public facing act, I think this applies.
Would you consider that a public facing act?
Well, I would also think, like, just personally thinking back to when I ran at the same time as another board member, and there were several signs that we did together to put both of our names. So does that imply that?
That you're endorsing the other candidate
Right.
as a city.
Well,
board
that
member?
I see.
That I think is different.
Yeah, and if you look a lot of times, you'll see people running as groups, right? I've
Right.
seen that, especially in school districts that have like 9-member boards.
Right, but I mean, I guess I'm thinking that directly implies an endorsement. You certainly wouldn't put your name and sign with someone. Do you
But
know what I
But
mean?
you're not,
Or,
unless you're referencing the fact that you're currently a city board member.
Well, and that can be
Yeah.
addressed easily enough. If an individual board member who's not otherwise up for election, we can
Yeah.
stress that.
Hmm.
If we
Yeah.
think that's an area.
I do remember
of potential
that
confusion.
when I ran and I did signs with another member, that we did consult the NISBA, policies and stuff to see if that was acceptable. And at the time it was, but, certainly,
Yeah, I
not
don't-
that should put a shadow on.
I don't have any problem with that. I'm more concerned about what I believe has happened, right, where a sitting board member is essentially campaigning
Under the,
with a candidate.
okay, yeah, that makes sense. So if that happened, then they should state that they are doing so as a private citizen, not as a member of the Board of Education.
In your,
Yeah, I think the way this is written, it says the board shall take no position,
Mhm.
right? So, to my knowledge, the board has not, never in my time at least, endorsed or,
Mhm.
you know, recommended against a particular candidate.
Right, of course.
Individual board members. Again, like if you were to campaign with somebody, is that a tacit? Right? So we have in here, if any individual board member feels obliged to take a public position concerning a candidate, it shall be their duty to stress.
I don't see how, in your example, going door to door candidate, if you're a sitting board member not up for reelection, I don't see how your presence is not construed as taking a position in favor of your recommendation under this policy.
I agree, I think,
And every door should be,
Unless-
should be preceded by, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm here as a private citizen.
Right.
I'm not expressing an opinion on whether that's the proper policy, I mean, whether it's good or bad, but as it's written, that's,
that's
how
what you
it's
have
gotta
to
be applied.
do, that's what you have to do, and I haven't participated in any activity like that, so I don't know what's said when someone might be knocking on a door. But to me, unless that is said, that is a violation of this policy.
Or if nothing is said, is that the same? Because you could just be acting as a private citizen. It depends on the tone, right? If you're saying, hi, I'm from the school board and I'm here with so-and-so and we're running, that's different.
I
But
mean, we have duty to stress.
Right.
It could say
that's
must
that's
disclose,
affirmative. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It could say must disclose.
Yeah, well, also, yeah,
State.
or
Yeah.
state, I was thinking state makes
Yeah.
sense, because stress also feels like it could be,
It's
yeah, it's very, like, degree, like, do you know, does that mean you have to be, I am not.
Or do we want to make this policy
statement.
one of prohibition as opposed to affirmative duty? Here it opposes affirmative duty to say, hey, I'm here as a private citizen. Or do you want to make it in so taking a position, the member shall not?
I don't think you can
I think they're,
because,
especially our First Amendment
Yeah.
concerns.
Oh, no, I mean, shall not say that they're there as a board member,
oh,
is what I'm saying.
okay.
I didn't,
Yeah.
Yeah, you shall not, I'm like, you can't do it at all.
That is problematic. I don't think you can bar them, but you can tell them what they cannot say, I think, in terms of being a board member or open a
So-
small
so-
town that's.
I think we could say
Yeah, just
duty
put those
to
out.
state that they take their position as a private citizen and not as a member of the board. That, I think, we could,
You're defining
we
it.
could say, this is what you must do if you are doing
Yes.
this.
Yes, you're saying it's your duty, and you're saying you must state it. I think that that's very clear. It's much clearer than stress and. Some of the other things.
Unless anyone objects, I'm gonna make that change. And that feels obliged to take a public position to, take a public position concerning a candidate, the individual board member must state.
And that's similar to what you were saying, Matt.
State,
The editor is easily, it's easily enough,
Mhm.
writing this letter as a private individual, period.
the individual board member must state that they take their position as a private citizen and not as a member of the board. I think that's pretty
Mhm.
clear.
I think so
Right.
too.
And
I would
then
agree.
it poses an obligation to say, I'm not making any endorsement on behalf of the board.
Mhm.
I'm here as a private
Mhm.
individual. I mean, I think that helps. Okay, next paragraph. Members of the board will comply with the code of ethics adopted by the board. Pursuant to the provisions of the general municipal law as contained in policy 2160, which is actually our next policy. Anyone have anything else they think they should be in here? Otherwise, I think this one's good to go.
Yeah, I think so as well. I don't have anything extra.
Okay. Good. All right, so that, I mean, it's a minor change, but I think it's an important one, and when we talk about this in our March meeting, I will flag this for everybody.
And this is gonna be for second read.
Yeah.
I'm just, if you look up, I'm sending this to Jess as we
Yeah, I
go.
see
Okay, so this policy is number 2.
Excuse me.
it. Yes.
I'm gonna say it was changed to require an affirmative statement if taking any public position. Do you want to say position or action? I think we do, yeah, because that if any individual board member feels obliged to take a public position, I'm gonna say or action.
Public action, I would prefer that public be. Size.
Public action, okay, I like that. Concerning a candidate, the individual board member must state that they take their position or action as a private citizen and not as a member of the board. Good?
Hmm.
Okay. Okay, I'm just making notes to myself. All right, I think that one's good to go. Okay. Right, Mark is final or?
I already did. You should update after you get to it. Yep.
Okay. Great. All right.
And I sent it to Jessica for her to add it to the agenda, so we should be good.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, so next up we have 2160, which is school district officer and employee code of ethics. So
Want to work from the draft policy 2160.
Yeah.
So I dropped in the NISBA sample policy because I went back.
Into the draft.
Let's work from the draft policy 2160, but I dropped 2160 into the folder. Because I was looking last night at when were there NISBA updates to this policy. There was an update in 2017 and then this one in March of 2022. Our 2160 was, I think, from May of 2022. So I think we got these updates into there. They're
Thank you.
when I was doing this.
Thank you.
Looking at like in his updates for 2111 and 2160, I came across 2130, which is board member resignation, which I dropped
Oh, okay.
into.
I was wondering what that was.
I dropped it into here just so we could have a reminder to talk about it.
Yeah.
The weird thing with our 2160 versus the NISBA samples is if you go to our policy manual, in our 2160, we have, in addition to the policy, 11 different sections.
Wow.
Sections, yeah, like you can see, Barbara, here, like purpose of the code of ethics, definitions, applicability, like we have all this other stuff that is not in 2160, and I don't know where it came from because I don't see it in the NISBA updates.
Yeah.
Right, and there's the date on it, if you go to the end of section 11, has a revision that's from September 13th of 2010. So this,
Where's, I'm sorry, where's?
She's on the manual
under
itself.
our actual policy manual,
Yeah.
not in the folder, just like our online
Oh,
policy
okay.
manual. You can get to through board docs. So section 11, which is the last section, has a note that it was revised September 13th, 2010. So that stuff is really old.
And I wonder if it's just an artifact.
Yeah, that's where I'm like,
Yeah.
but there are some very specific things in here that are not in the other 20, in like the main 2160.
I would say just get rid of them all.
Well,
If
that's my question.
If NISBA doesn't give you those updates and they got rid of those, I mean,
That's where I'm like, I think we might need to circle back to NISBA to just say, can you help us understand where this
yeah.
came from?
Can you No, I'll do it. I don't know if you have the ability. I'm gonna go on to, I'm gonna go on to where it is so I can see it real quick, because
And then,
I'm not seeing a section. So we're in 2160.
yeah, so go, are you in our, yeah.
The
Whether-
PDF version that's in the.
Or-
no, we'll go to board docs,
yeah,
Board of
Board
Education.
Docs,
I got it up here. Board docs,
Board policy.
2160. Okay. Where's 2160?
Because then you'll see, when you go to the list, you'll see. um,
So that,
So just go to contents.
okay.
if you can.
Oh yeah.
So yes, we have an E too. I didn't
Yeah.
get to that yet.
I haven't even gotten it.
Click 2160.
Yeah.
There you go.
What?
1 through 11, which has all sorts of things that are not in the other policy,
Mhm.
in the 2160.
Yeah, but they're simple. It's the definitions.
Well, like,
Where did this come
where
from?
did they come from? They're nowhere in the NISBA updates from 2017 or 2016 or 2020.
Bless you.
Thank you.
These definitely
Two.
seem to be artifacts that were covered, you know, at
Well-
a much later date, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Well, I remember talking about the gift thing, but
This is in the other one, but I think it's,
Yeah, we get different.
yeah, that was 2022. So we spent all the time.
we did, yeah.
I think
I can't scroll down.
I don't think we looked at these as a time. Like, we just looked at the NISBA update.
Disclosure of interest is in it, isn't it already? I feel like we've talked about all this.
So let's see. So in our 2160, we do have a very scaled down section on gifts. We have disclosure of interest. So some of these have been like reduced to a paragraph in the NISBA update.
Is there a recusal and absent?
uh,
Yeah, I'm officially.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't get this at
I
all.
thought this was gonna be a simple one, and then when I started digging the other day, I was like,
It also seems like likely some of those sections may have been reattributed to some of the other
That
policies, because
typically,
those look like they, you know, they might include
yeah,
some of these sections.
but some of this stuff, like,
Yeah.
recusal and extension, right?
That should be under voting procedure, shouldn't it? No, anyway.
It's not in here.
It's not in here.
is it somewhere else though?
So,
Oh yeah.
But like, I wonder if it's in 2120 for voting procedures, or if that is just completely procedural.
let me see. Um,
Huh?
I think that's for voting in a school board election.
Mhm. Probably, yeah.
No, that's different.
Okay.
So anyway, I think this, before we tackle this,
Yeah.
I think it might be worth asking NISBA
Yeah.
for their guidance on what to do with these other sections.
Mhm.
I mean, they clearly came from somewhere, and I don't think we made them up ourselves. But there's a lot in there, and also, like, that's why I flagged that 2130s board member resignation, because it doesn't live anywhere else, but it would seem like it could fit in here if we wanted it to, or we could, if we, I mean, it's like a 2-sentence policy, we could just add it if we want to add it, because otherwise I don't think it's a draft. Anyway, that was my thinking on this one,
yeah.
is like, before we dig in, we need to,
Know what we're looking for.
yeah. I mean, we have the NISBA update from 2022, which we
Mhm.
incorporated. So the 2160 itself, I think, is complete as per what
Mhm.
NISBA recommends. But we've got all this other stuff that's in the address.
So I'm gonna ask Jess to reach out to
Okay,
NISBA, and I'm gonna ask that she share our 2160 sections with them and say, we have all these sections. What is your recommendation? Do we get rid of these? Do you have updates on this? We're not sure where they came from.
because to be clear, the 2160 that is published online is even different than the one that's in the folder. If you look at the draft policy 2160,
See, I downloaded it.
I-
That's what I downloaded off of, it doesn't matter.
Really?
Because I clicked the download button.
hold on.
right. This is the one that is right from the policy. This is the one that they just recommended.
Because the online one, it's got abstention. Mm-hmm.
2022.
But there's nothing about abstention,
No,
and it
In
seems
our-
as though there's one on the online version. That was one of the.
Oh, in the sections, yes, there is.
not in the policy 2160, it's in one of the like sections, which again, like why do we have sections for policies?
Yeah.
separately?
And they're so small.
Understanding the difference, which
So draft, so what I have in the folder, the policy folder as draft policy 2160 is what I downloaded from our Upload doc site. So that should be the current version of what we have adopted. Let me take a quick look at the NISBA sample, but I thought I looked at. that.
I just looked at it really, really
I
fast.
thought we matched up with that. Yeah, our 21, current 2160. That is the NISBA update. There might be some tweaks here and there, but the format is the same. But like I said, the current sections in our policy manual go beyond what's in 2160 in some areas, not across the board.
Oh, I see what you're saying. The sections are separate and apart from the main policy.
It's kind of a mess. And like I said, I thought we were gonna read through this would
Right,
be
yeah.
fine. And then,
Okay, now. Oh, my God.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
So this one, I think we need to like pause, find out from NISBA where these came from. And then we can circle back to it.
So I said, can you reach out to NISBA policy, share with them that our board docs, there are multiple extra sections for 2160. The update for the policy does not have the sections anywhere. Can you ask them what they recommend us to do with these sections? Anything else?
Okay, and then we also have that regulation, which I think NISBA has a reg as well. I didn't find it, but I'm sure that's where it came from. I don't know if we currently use it.
The regulation for 2160?
Yeah, the 2160, so if we go on our policy manual, we have a 2160E Code of Ethics Acknowledgement.
I don't think we use that.
I may have signed this, I don't remember signing this. But anyway, there's something we need to do. Okay, all right.
That is going to be confusing.
Moving on. So, everybody good to jump to 2382 broadcasting and recording of board meetings?
What about 2342, agenda preparation and
We just adopted them.
that?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I'd say that's up top.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Just making sure that I'm not.
Yeah, so that one, I think, we're good. 2382 had a couple of, or at least one NISBA update. Let's take it. Okay, so yeah, there was a NISBA sample policy that's in the folder, from July of 2023. So I'd say we,
2132.
2382.
Thank you. Too many numbers.
For ease of administration, let me just add a copy of this, and then we can work from it as our draft. Okay, so now let's work from the draft.
I'll label that draft up top. Oh, you already have. Look at
So, as far as what is in our current policy manual, we don't have a 2382. This policy, I think, kind of got more attention post-COVID when the law started changing around. Like we do have policies that talk about like open meetings and how we're gonna like make available, and comply with certain like recordings and comply with open records law. So that we don't have a specific policy on broadcasting and recording openings. And this, like I said, took on more importance post-COVID when the law was changing around whether you could have remote participation. And then there was a change in the law that was 2 years ago, Frank, that required the board to, by resolution, allow for remote participation. if
Yes.
They chose. And as a board, you may have been in the audience, Matt, but I don't think you were on the board then. We decided that we were not going to adopt a resolution.
Yeah, and that stems from during COVID, they allowed you to remotely join. And in the past, in order for you to join, you had to say where you were, and there was all these other things. But you always can join remotely. But so after COVID, they wanted you to either go back to the way it was, or they put new stipulations in saying if you are going to be able to join remotely, you have to allow everyone in your community to join remotely as well. That was
At your location.
at your locations, meaning you have to broadcast it and allow for public comment if you allow for public comment during that time frame, and people just don't have the capability to do so. That's why you don't see it.
And you can't come.
Right, and you're,
Yeah.
Unless, I guess you're
Yes.
disabled.
unless you're disabled,
Exigent
yes.
circumstances.
Yeah, so anyway, it's, I think we should just walk through this one and see if it's something we want to adopt, because this would be a new policy for us.
I guess the overriding, kind of arching question I have is, who's the target audience? Because at some moments it sounds like maybe they're talking about the board doing recording, but then by the time you get to the end, it's very clearly talking about third parties.
Is it?
I mean,
It does
it's,
seem that way, yeah, like, you know,
I
you
mean,
could
it's-
be.
say, oh, the recordings can't be disruptive, well, or obtrusive. Well, why would the board set up recording that's obtrusive of its own proceedings?
Yeah.
And then it talks about the board issuing persons whose actions interfere with the deliberative process will be given up. I mean,
Yeah, so this, actually, in our December meeting, I was thinking about this, because one, I knew we had it on our list, and two, we had members of the media present with their own
Microphones. Yep.
recording devices set up, which that was a first for me as a board member. So, I think that's what it's getting at, is not so much, like the board's obligation to comply with the meetings law, but rather when, I mean, I guess it could be both, right? but I think it's talking about others recording, right? So anybody can sit in the audience now with their phone
Right.
and record off of it.
But it's funny how the last one goes down to our minutes saying it's your minutes as well. It can be utilized as minutes. You're right. Like that's, which is true. That's already in another policy we have. Though.
We do.
I don't think you're right. But the question was asked though, by someone at the board meeting to me is, can they do that? To the media, it was up there, and I said, yeah, they're allowed to do that. But the policy even goes one step further.
And I don't know that because we don't have this, I don't know that we have a policy that says that they can do it. I think we all.
Or can't. It's
They
like,
can,
yeah,
it just can't be disrupted.
right.
Right? It's a public meeting, so.
I don't think it's bad. I think it's, Matt, I agree with you. It seems very segmented and all over the place.
I think if it's gonna be a policy applicable to non-board parties, then I think it should be consistent throughout. I mean, part of me thinks, well, if there, I mean, I don't think there's any dispute that people are permitted to do this with or without a policy. And nor is I don't think it's disputed that if it becomes, obstructive or a problem, that we have a right to address that. I guess just as a matter of the government, so to speak, should we have a policy on it, just to make it perfectly clear, so we have something to point to.
Yeah, I think it's good to have a policy on this, because it's, like I said, it was my first time having media show up at the end of last year and report on their own. But this could happen, right? It could get to the point where we've got media setting up like right in front, and,
Yep.
and it's disruptive or it's blocking other people's ability to participate, right? Like,
Yeah, it's necessary. You should.
And I get the last paragraph. I think at this point, the board reserves the right to direct that in audio. That basically just says that even though you're making one, that doesn't count as minutes unless we say otherwise. I think that's kind of where they're getting with putting that in there. It just seems odd.
Can there be like two sections, like the duty of the board versus the duty of those attending the meeting? Do you know what I mean? Like,
And I think that's what that last one is like the board reserves the right to do this as well.
yeah, I guess headings would help.
Yes.
So
It's nice to make it.
yeah, okay, so just to circulate them, there's the note, they've updated to better reflect the Committee on Open Government's recommendations for broadcasting and reporting. The law permits public bodies to adopt reasonable rules to govern taping or broadcasting of its meetings if it so chooses. The full Committee on Open Government guidance can be found on the website. So why don't we walk through it and see if we like it and if we can make it better. Okay, so the title is Broadcasting and Recording of Board Meetings. As a meeting of a public body, school board meetings are open to the public so that people can witness and observe the decision-making process. To further reach members who may not be able to attend, meetings are open to the public. Meetings open to the public may be photographed, broadcast, or webcast. Period. That's just a general statement. I think it's fine as kind of an intro to the policy. The use of any photography, broadcast, recording equipment, or other such device to allow for the broadcasting or recording of public meetings of the Board of Education or a committee appointed thereby is permissible as long as use of the device is not obtrusive or disruptive and does not interfere with the deliberative process of the board or the right of anyone attending to observe or listen to the meeting. That, I think, would address my concern of having a row of cameras set up in the front of the room.
Yep.
Blocking.
Yeah, and we had communications there specifically to help with that, by the way. Like they came to say, like, all right, if we're going to do it, they're like, we'll move them already, so you don't even have to worry about it.
Right.
So, but that may not always happen.
Right. Exactly. Persons whose actions interfere with the deliberative process will be given a reasonable opportunity to modify their actions. Then there's a note, this next section reflects the district's option to use a recording as minutes. This section, I mean, we have a 2360, which is minutes. It's in our board policy manual now. And it's consistent with all the open meetings law stuff. It was last revised October 3rd, 2022. So I'm questioning whether we need this last section. Like we already, like the sentence that was added, we already say in 2360, and we do cross-reference all the time, so I don't think it hurts. And as far as reserves the right, I would probably change that to may, the board may direct.
Okay.
And if everybody could do that.
Yeah.
If we keep it. I don't know if we need to see policy 2360 minutes.
No, it literally, I just pulled the policy up
Yeah, we cross-reference it right
and,
there.
and it says unabridged video or audio recordings or unabridged written transcripts can be used as minutes and made available to the public as such.
Yeah.
So,
we looked at that.
yeah.
Um, I'm fine with your is everyone good with this as written?
Yeah.
I think we just need to clean it up. I can do that now. Or we can-
Just can do it.
I'm just gonna resolve the ones.
Yeah.
So.
What is going on my computer?
Does anyone feel strongly that we need things? I think we're good on this.
No, I think it's okay. I mean, you know, looking at it, it's, you know, it's just, it's nice to have it, you know, nice and clear, but I think it's so brief.
Yeah,
It's very clear how it.
I agree. All right, so we're gonna have a first.
Thank you.
So we're gonna have a first read of 2382.
I'm gonna write final first on it.
Works. This is-
Yeah, I sent that to her already.
All right. Lord Evil. Okay, so the next one we have is 2510. Oh, I'm sorry. 2325. Video conferencing of board members. So we do have a 2325. And it was last updated October of 2022. So I think we did use it. But we're the minutes and video conferencing. So let's take a look at the NISBA update. And this one, like I was saying before about the post-COVID time, kind of took on new importance. So I have in the folder our Voorheesville policy, which is the October 2022 version. There's a NISBA update from November 2023.
I have ours. It's very hard to read if you have bad eyesight, but it is up here on the side here. This is our current, and here's the one that we're looking at today too.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, again, I'm gonna make a draft using the municipal policy. That we can have also. So we've got the NISBA sample. It's unfortunately a little longer than the other ones we've been looking at. 5 pages. But let's see how much we can get through. Okay, so this, as Matt was mentioning earlier, addresses like video conference participation of a board member with a disability and having that count towards a quorum. This was a update to public officers law in 2023. So I think we do some updates here. And then this.
Question,
Sure.
the opening paragraph there?
This one?
No, the members of the board. No. So down below that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we already have in our current policy.
But I guess my question is, maybe I was incorrect. It says, even in non-disability situations, may attend board meetings by video conference,
You've always been able to.
but may participate in all aspects, including establishing.
That I think changed.
Oh, did it?
I think that changed 2023 updates. You could, I mean, we can go through it, but
No.
I believe.
No, if it's in NISBA's policy, then I trust it.
Yeah, but NISBA's policy November 23 says, oh, that's,
I don't believe you can.
it says you can.
It says right there, yeah, such members may participate in aspects, including establishing a forum and vote.
Our current policy has that too.
Okay, so it specifically says this type of remote participation does not depend on a board resolution.
So this is the old school one. This is like announce where you are, participate. And voting. They must disclose the number of people in attendance at the location. That's always been the law.
Right?
Yep. Huh.
I'm just trying to reconcile what I
I
thought was the
thought
case at
yeah,
one point and now what it says.
I'm with you too.
So
Yeah, I thought that if you were remote, you could not count towards a quorum or vote unless you were, it was due to disability or some other exigent circumstances.
Can you remind me?
Oh.
What?
So here's where it is. Ready? Board members video conference under extraordinary circumstances. So that's if you're sick, childcare, and all those other things, does not count towards a quorum unless their locations are open to the public. So since it's not open to the public, it doesn't count.
That's if you're at the house, but
Right.
if I'm in North Carolina.
But that goes along with the normal one then. That's not your extraordinary circumstances.
So it's modifying.
Yeah, because it's the extraordinary circumstances came out of COVID.
I guess I'm not understanding like the nuance between the two. Like if you're saying that I'm at home because I have extraordinary circumstances, I am not part of the quorum, I cannot discuss, I cannot vote. But if I'm in Virginia, saying that I'm, open to somebody joining me in my hotel.
Sitting in
And
the lobby of my hotel.
exactly, anyone can be here with me.
Come in if they want.
Yeah.
Then I may
That's always,
discuss quorum and vote.
and that
We
has
discussed,
always
but
been the way.
We've said.
We said no
you
quorum,
can't vote
right?
And no quorum.
But our policy does not say that.
I mean, this is.
And it's
this is the
NISBA.
latest NISBA update.
Well, even our old policy says it. The one that we adopted in 2022 says that you can vote.
But I know there were like changes in law after that in
Hmm.
2023. Right.
Okay, so
And this-
So the 2023 version is the correct, or the most, I shouldn't say correct, it's the most up-to-date version.
Mhm.
that we have from NISBA.
But is it clear enough to indicate
I mean,
what the
there's-
difference is between extraordinary circumstances and you just being not physically present because you're in another state or.
Yeah, so I think like. Okay, so there's video conferencing for locations open to the public.
Huh.
Right, and that's the part where NISBA is saying does not require a board resolution. Right, and it says that if you're participating by video conference, you can participate in all aspects of the meeting, including forum, discussion, and voting. But that location has to be open to the public, okay? Then there's video conferencing under extraordinary circumstances. And this is the part that requires a board resolution, which we did not pass.
Right.
We decided, we
Yep.
discussed and decided, I think we missed if your location is open to the public, part of discussing this resolution.
Yeah.
Requirement.
That's always,
way back when.
yep.
So this is like, when we talked about extraordinary circumstances, I think the way we understood it was like, I have a sick child and I can't leave my house. And I still want to participate. Like, cause it has in here disability, illness, caregiving responsibilities, precluding physical attendance at the meeting. So to utilize video conferencing under extraordinary circumstances, a quorum of board members must be present in the same physical location where the public can attend. So that is basically like, it requires at least 4 people in the same location, right, to establish a quorum. You can still use video conferencing. Public still has to be able to attend.
But the trick is what comes after that. All meetings that are broadcast or utilize video conference technology will utilize technology that permits access by the members of the public, consistent with this act. So for all meetings involving video conferences under extraordinary circumstances, the district will provide members of the public the opportunity to view the meeting via video and participate in public comment via video conference in real time. That's why people don't do this one, because the minute you do that, you have to do it for everybody, which makes it extremely difficult. It's underneath the next part. So it's almost exactly the same, except they put that little caveat in.
So if it's an extraordinary circumstance, you have to still have the forum of the board
Yeah.
all in the same location,
Yeah.
public, open to the public.
Mhm.
You can have other board members video conferencing under extraordinary circumstances who can participate in discussions and voting.
Mhm.
And their locations are not required to be open to the public, but they can't count towards establishing a quorum unless the location is open to the public. This is contrary to what I understood, because I believe I have used this provision when I had to travel for work.
But you haven't voted.
And I have not voted,
But you,
although this says I can vote. And we had established a quorum with other board members, so that would have been fine.
our current policy allows you to vote now. We just haven't done it.
We just haven't done it. Yeah,
Because you're
that's my
saying,
mistake, I guess, because.
but you're saying that the thing that precludes all of this is that it would all have to be in real time live recording.
No. So there's 2 sections. The members wanting to attend via video conferencing, you can do that anytime you want. You just have to acknowledge it. It has to be on your agenda and it has to be posted publicly, and you have to say where you are. And I guess, which we haven't been doing, is it allows you to develop a quorum that way, and it allows for votes. So that's a little bit different than what our practice has been,
Yes.
but that's what the law says. Your other option, which would have to pass by board resolution, is that you can allow somebody to sick kid, caregiving, other things going on. But then in order for you to do that, the way I read this, is that means then you have to open it up to the community to be able to have that same opportunity. That is the problematic part. And I think that's why we said no in the first place.
Okay, so this section though, on extraordinary circumstances is only applicable if the board has adopted the resolution on video conferencing under extraordinary circumstances.
Right.
Which if we're going to do that, we also have to be capable of providing the real-time option, which is
Right, which we just were able
puts
to,
it out of reach, I think.
I mean, if you saw what happened on Monday night, I mean, we couldn't even have Lisa there just to present virtually.
So. I guess the question is, do we wanna have a discussion on this? In terms of whether we wanna adopt this resolution in the board meeting? Because composition of the board has changed.
That's up to you.
Like, people may have different feelings, like, I don't
Yeah.
think you were on October too, were you?
I just don't think we have the feasibility to be able to make this work.
No, I was not.
So. Where's the specific language, that you're concerned about, Frank? Just look.
All meetings that are broadcast, it's like the second from the end right here.
Yeah, it's after the last gray box.
Yeah.
Right after the last.
The district will provide members of the public the opportunity to view the meeting via video and participate in public comment via video conference in real time where public comment is authorized, which we do twice, to the same extent as an in-person comment. That's where I think we would struggle.
Yeah, I agree. We don't currently like live stream.
No.
We did during COVID when the location was not open.
Correct. We used,
Right. We could do like a live event on YouTube if we wanted to.
but how can they public comment then? Can they do that on YouTube?
No,
I think there's
no,
a,
we'd have to, no, I think we'd have to do it as like a Teams meeting, WebEx, right, and record it,
Right.
which you can do.
Right.
And we could do it with Google Meet,
If the internet works.
if the internet.
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, that is a
If
requirement.
you saw Monday,
Yeah, the internet has to work.
and it adds a whole nother layer. And I think the question just you have to ask is, what is the end purpose of that, right? Is it,
Yeah.
I mean, you travel for work, you've done this multiple times without the extraordinary circumstances.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
haven't been able to vote. I
Well,
can
now you can.
discuss.
Yeah, but now you can. You always could vote. We just never chose to.
Yeah,
So it's up to you guys on the discussion.
I mean, if we were to have a discussion at the board level, I would maybe have Lonnie there as a resource so we can publicly discuss capabilities or.
I would not have Lonnie there because Lonnie's he's a tech. He's not our IT CTS
okay.
program.
Okay.
And I think that would be something that I would just be able to pull back from CTS and say, yeah,
Oh, there you go.
yeah. I mean, but again, as you're saying, it would be a WebEx.
Mhm.
It would be, that's all it would be. You could easily do that. It's the question is, do you want to do that? Is it really worth the effort?
It's like, I would love to have community feedback. It's great because, like, if there are people who don't get to our board meetings and don't have the ability to participate in public comment because
They're
they're
disabled.
home taking care of their
Right.
kids, right? Which is completely
Yep.
reasonable. Totally. Like, they're sitting at a soccer practice in Latham and, if they had the Google Meet, they could call in and participate, like, that would be great,
Mhm.
right?
I mean, it is doable. I would just put it up. But the recording of the meeting is the issue because that would mean if we were to do it the way that they were saying, is every board member would have a Google Meet in front of them. Everybody would be able to see that Google board member.
Yep.
And then your recording would be that Google Meet recording. It wouldn't be the setup that we just did,
Right,
right?
yeah, it would be more like a panel.
Right.
And to be
Causing
clear,
feedback and other things with the microphones if you were still going to keep that.
and to be clear, this, I'm gonna call it the real time is only required if one or more board members are participating under the extraordinary circumstances. It's not gonna be every board. It says for all meetings involving video conferencing under extraordinary circumstances. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it still would require the technology to be available.
Mm.
But I don't know if that interesting equation matters, if it's gonna have to be every meeting, which it doesn't. It's only gonna have to be for those meetings where someone's participating in the extraordinary circumstances.
Unless
Mm.
we want to increase the openness of our meetings. And
Well, sure.
allow for remote participation, public comments all the time.
Right, and I was only thinking in terms of
Yeah.
what the policy requires, if we certainly want to expand it to include, to enhance community involvement, then I'm all for it then. Good.
Your guys' call?
Yeah, I think we should, take those questions back to the board
Mhm.
and have a discussion on it if we have time in the March meeting. Hopefully we can make time, because I really wanted to try and move these policies as a group. if we could, but-
Oh, I would ask that if we are going to do this, that we wouldn't start this policy until July 1st.
Oh,
Just to give time
Oh,
for
yeah,
this to
yeah,
start
yeah.
and like,
No, you-
yeah.
I no disrespect, but April and May are real busy for me. So like
Yeah.
trying to get this all up and running, and Lonnie just got the new camera technology. I'd like to give our tech people time to,
Figure it out.
No, this is.
but you also have to do a first read and a second read and a resolution, even if you were to get to that
Well, in a
anyways.
public
That's true.
hearing.
Yep.
Do you want to put this on it as a first read?
No,
Okay,
no,
just
no,
discussion.
just discussion. I don't think
Okay.
we're ready to do a first read.
Okay.
I mean, we can work through what's in the.
No.
Kind of clean it up, but I think it's helpful to leave like the NISBA comments in, because they'll help guide our discussion. So, yeah, if we can put this on the agenda as a discussion.
Where would you like that? With the policy meetings where?
I would prefer that we do it as its own agenda item and attach the this so that everyone can see like what the decision points are.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have it go in the front of the meeting then. I'll ask her to put like that on as, so that way we kind of keep it right away from policy altogether, and then it becomes a board discussion item.
Is it possible to have someone who just a little bit of recon and figure out what, or maybe we already know, I don't want to make an assumption. What do other districts use in terms of not only software, but hardware when it comes to live stream?
Yeah, I don't think many districts do this. I think most of the districts do what we've always done, and then they live stream using a camera to like a live YouTube or that. I don't think there's many districts that I know that do the policy. I can check out my soup group. Is that weird?
Or putting the policy aside, are there any districts that use a system that does otherwise comply with this, that's two-way? I'm finding it hard to believe that they do.
Yeah, I don't think they
I
do.
know like districts like Newburgh, for example, I think YouTube Live, but it doesn't provide.
But the
for-
two-way, I don't think they do.
But it doesn't, there's no two-way.
I don't, when we talked about this before, I don't remember any district saying, yeah, we're doing it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll check with my group, because
Okay. cool.
I'm interested in knowing if there's any in the Cap region that do it. Because you're right, if they do it, then,
Yeah.
but if they don't do it, that also shows that there's also a main blocker, because if we're,
Right.
like, there's more here.
Yeah, we'd like to bring them
Okay, so we're gonna circle back to that after the
Yep.
March board meeting. The last one that in this group is new board member orientation. And this one has had this for updates over the years. I believe our current policy incorporates only this for updates. We had looked at this policy recently. a former board member had raised concerns about whether we were doing enough to orient new board members. And, I know when we had our retreat this past summer, we also talked about like what would board members want to be a part of board member orientation.
Yep.
So I think this is one that's been on our list to circle back to and just see if we think there's anything missing or that needs tweaks. So we've got about 15 minutes left, so I say we just jump in and give it a quick look. This is 5:10. So should I create a draft up for this, or do we want to just look at it first?
Is this the one that's already there, or you?
So we have in the folder right now, just our policy. Matt, you made edits to this, so let's work off of this. We'll call this one draft. I'm just gonna rename it. Okay. So let's work through it. Matt, thank you for making the edits already. Okay. The Board of Education and the administrative staff shall assist each new board member elect to become familiar with and understand the board's functions, policies, and procedures, and the school district's operation before taking office. Each board member elect shall, as soon as possible, be given selected materials covering the function of the board and the school district, including a policy manual, which can be through reference to the digital version on the district's website. Do we say, we've talked about this section before, like the fact that all the policies are online, we don't have a book anymore. So instead, why don't we say instead of a policy manual, why don't we just say the district's online policy manual?
Yeah, we're not going to print it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, just so I'm just gonna change. Are you good with that?
Yeah, however you, I mean, the
The intent is the
still
same.
comes through.
Yeah. Okay. Including the district's online policy manual, copies of key reports prepared during the previous year by school board committees and or the administration, access to the school law handbook prepared by the School Boards Association.
Probably take out the last 3 lines that I just do. I mean, maybe just access to is enough.
Mhm.
Probably take out the rest of the gobbledygook.
Why don't we say a copy of which is available in the district office?
I like that, yeah.
Access to minutes of board meetings of the previous year, latest financial report, why do we say reports? Or do you mean the audit? Do we mean the audit there? Because we now through audit have developed a bunch of,
I mean, now we have the long range plan, the debt service
Yeah.
plan. I mean, we got more things than we've ever had in this district.
I'm just gonna say reports. 'Cause,
I mean-
copies of- to capital B. Copies of certain materials developed by this NISBA. And G, any other materials which may be deemed helpful. Each board member elect shall.
We do have,
to attend all board meetings.
Archie, I do have a thing that I created that has like a 9-stage like onboarding process. That has that like materials and specific things outlined. I don't know if that goes with or not with it.
So,
Probably okay as a separate
Yeah.
SOP for you. I mean,
Yeah,
It's
well-
just something that you would.
Well, I shared it all with the board multiple times. like,
Oh, okay.
for the board to say, yes, this is what we want to do, because like a formalized onboarding plan, I don't think is a bad thing, like a board developed onboarding plan saying, here's how we want to do this.
trying to delete your comment. Okay. good. So what are you thinking, Frank?
So I have,
Is that, you want to reference that?
I don't know, hold on. So I had this and I shared it with the board before. I don't know where it is really quick. But I'm thinking it might be a good opportunity for us to develop a legitimate onboarding program, right? As part of policy saying the board will work at, and so I think I shared this one with all the board members before. Yeah, I did. And asked for input. So like I've shared this, like, what do you want to give, as that, so like, what are the things that you want to work on, what the committees are, potential training sessions, because I was thinking we could do training sessions for onboarding people, like student achievement, and then do another one, the state's education system, because not every board member is going to be, they might not have the background on schools or,
Right,
have worked in schools before.
so would this fall under G, any other materials which may be deemed helpful and informative?
I just
think
would,
It's a great resource.
yeah, there's some schools that have like formal onboard programs that they utilize for their districts and they build them. And the boards, they even have like pamphlets that they write, like to be able to give out to other people. So you want to be a board member of Voorheesville? Here's the thing to know,
And, you can hand it out if somene's interested in running for the board so that they know what they're getting
Right.
into.
When they come to pick up
When
their
they come to pick up
petitions.
their petitions,
Right.
exactly. I think that, they're,
I'm sorry to
No,
interrupt you, I think there is a NISBA publication that.
So you want to be a board member?
Yeah.
Yeah.
that just includes-
She does, yep.
Oh,
Yeah, so maybe just saying in other pertinent information, but I just think board agreed upon pertinent information. Like I'm wondering who decides what other pertinent information is. Is it the one board member who might want to see something that I want to see all the discipline from the net, from 1999 to to 2023, which has no bearing on anything that we would do, or is it pertinent information that's already been designed by the board in conjunction with NISBA?
Change G to materials developed or approved by the board for purposes of onboarding.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a little bit safer.
and I think the other thing here, just that I'm thinking is that, is there a timeline for certain things? Like, like your mandated training that you must go through, should that happen within, 30 days or
That one I think is in there, isn't it?
is
Like,
it? Because
I
I
think it
didn't
says,
see that. And
Um, No, there's no timelines in here.
Huh.
The only thing is, as soon as practical after members take the oath of office.
have a retreat.
they have a retreat.
well, but remember though, if you're a person like me who comes on, that's a totally different thing. And but yet you are a new board member.
True. Yeah.
So you have to have the newly elected school board member training complete within the first year of service, per NISBA state mandated training responsive New York State school boards.
You have to have it, but can we also ensure that it is like offered within 30 days or within, you know what I mean, or whatever it is that you take your oath.
I don't know. I don't know how NISBA does that with the mandated one.
So
I think they always offer it in the summer, but you're right. If you take your oath in October, are they going to have a mandated training?
Well, that's what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
I mean, if you come on the board in October and yes, it is still within a first year, but you're not going through your mandates training until the summer. That's an awfully long time to not be
So-
up to speed with your fellow board.
So you're saying the school itself should do the onboarding system and work with new members to onboard them with training within at least 30 days of becoming a member if it's a mid-year appointment?
Yeah.
Some, like, you kind of point out the mid-year component of that if it's not a traditional.
So,
That makes sense, because if you're in November,
yeah, I mean, we have it in here, each board member election as soon as possible, but we don't have any specified time. But I think the difference is like when you're elected, there's a gap between the election and when you take office, whereas if you're appointed, like as soon as
Yeah.
you're sworn in, you're in.
right?
Yeah, welcome to the.
How about maybe a provision, a caveat that just kind of a thing here, that notwithstanding the district acknowledges or the board acknowledges that there will be circumstances such as, midterm appointment when, this onboarding is more time sensitive. Like I said, I'm just kind of off the top of my head, but something that, it's a bit more fluffy. It doesn't set down a hard and fast, when it's midterm, it's gotta be done within a period, but the board acknowledges that there are extraordinary
Yeah,
circumstances where, it should be done sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and the one, I like that.
I do too.
Yeah.
One kind of tweak is we don't have to appoint, right? Like we could
Right.
decide to hold a special election. There's a number of different methods under the law. For how, like if we have a board member resignation and unavailability, how we would address them. But I think we can add like, in circumstances where a board member, there's a new board member, either by appointment or otherwise. The district will make,
Every effort possible.
best efforts to orient that board member as quickly as possible. Like, we already have as soon as possible, so maybe you want to say like, is that where you want your, like, within 30 days?
Yeah. I just,
Okay, so.
And Barbara, I've heard that complaint before. Like a former board member was like, I got in, and they were in April, and I think it was April, or it was a late appointment, and it was like they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea, right? It was unclear of the onboarding process then. It was like 2020, right during COVID, I think the time frame was. And it was. I remember them saying, I don't know what the onboarding process is. I don't remember how we do this best. So
yeah.
they felt a little lost because it's a lot to get into.
There's a lot, and I think that there's, we always talk about the openness of communication and, the public understanding. I think that there is a lack of knowledge about like what truly is required of a board member, what their knowledge base has to be, how they are trained, and what they are obligated to do, what they can do, what they can't do.
Mhm.
And so, it's just to what you said, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
People don't realize it.
Okay, so I had an information to this.
Aren't we?
Where a board member takes office through appointment or otherwise outside of the annual board election, the district will act expeditiously to orient the new board members.
I like that.
And that's kind of saying like, it's not as soon as possible, like we're gonna.
Right, but this is a special circumstance and,
And we need to get you up.
need to be up to speed as soon as possible.
Okay, can we go back up to paragraph 1? Where we had that any other. We're almost out of time, which may be deemed helpful and informative. Do we want to change that to any other materials approved by the board for onboarding.
I think that would be a safeguard. Because somebody may want things that they're not privy to,
Exactly.
right? Like
Yeah, that's
teacher
all.
evaluations, like as you now know as board members, that's not something you automatically get, right? So I think we just need to be just clarify that for someone so that way they're not confused.
Yeah, that does make way more sense. Yeah.
Okay, so, good, okay, so we've got, that changed to some paragraph G. Paragraph 2, be invited to all board meetings and functions.
And she had any other materials approved, right? Says which approved.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Be invited to meet with the superintendent of schools and other administrative personnel, as well as current members of the Board of Education, to discuss the services and roles that they perform for the school board and the school district. I don't think we currently do that, but do we?
We did, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it was on.
Yeah, Matt and Kathy came in. We asked them first off, what do they know already? Because I'm like, because they kind of, it's going to be dependent on the person.
Yep.
Who's coming in, I think.
Might be putting too fine a point, but on number 2, do we want to put be invited to attend all public board meetings and functions?
Yep.
I don't think you can override.
Yep.
Other requirements. It just makes it clear.
Okay, and then 4, be invited and encouraged to attend workshops for new school board members. Okay, so then after that, we have where a board member takes office to appointment otherwise outside of the annual election. This will act fix it. Board member. And then not
That's, and it imposes an obligation to hold a retreat, so that's, I guess, the downside, but if you want to call it that, but I really like, I don't know if you guys, y'all have had, I gotta be careful, mindful of my phone. I don't know if you all had done a retreat previously when you had a new board, but I really liked it.
We do a retreat every summer.
we do it
Oh,
in
great.
summer, but like when we've had mid-year appointments.
We haven't. Yeah.
That's true.
And I think that's important.
Yeah.
The mid-year appointment, I think, it gets lost.
Mhm.
And I think those people are at a disadvantage.
Yeah. It's it's a steep learning curve
Yep.
for sure.
I think it's a good idea. Even if we haven't moved it, to just schedule a couple hour retreat
Mhm.
to talk through things.
The whole board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't think any one of us would be like, no, that's not worth my time.
Oh, really? Seriously?
Okay, I'm gonna accept this. I like this one too. Okay, I think this one's.
Already
Good.
put final on it and sent it to Jess as you were talking.
Okay, so this is gonna be a, amendment, so this should be ready for, second read.
Yep.
Okay, all right, good. So we didn't get to 1740, but we've got some work to do. You're gonna do some additional research.
So I contacted council while we were talking. And I just asked for it. So what I'm seeing is from the initial research I saw, NICED states cannot participate in extracurricular sports. Right. So there's extracurricular activities is clarified. No, I think that might be board discretion. So I asked for our attorney to send me an email with I said, the policy is looking at students participating in extracurriculars. I know there's regulations out there. Please send us all guidance so we can have an understanding of it for our policy. So yeah, I'll get it this is what we pay council for. Let them do all the
All
work.
right, well, I think great work and, we'll conclude our.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Still recording, so excuse me.